G'day all, welcome back to the G-Man Show. Today we're going to talk through a video called Can We Afford for Everybody to Be Financially Responsible? Very interesting video. If you want to watch it in full without me stopping and commenting, as always, check the video description. All right, let's get started.
You were probably terrible with money. Credit card debt is at an all-time high.
So get this, a new report says 2 in 5 Americans think credit card debt is embarrassing.
Loans and credit cards. Tom Costello is now on the growing economic uncertainty and what you need to know about dealing with debt.
A majority of Americans can't afford a $1,000 expense without going into debt. And even 1/3 of people that earn $250,000 a year or more live paycheck to paycheck.
That is astronomical, isn't it? That's 250,000 US. So let's say that's high threes, maybe 400K. But that's it. Like money, just because you make more money, it doesn't make you more financially responsible. There is such a thing as lifestyle creep. I've talked about it quite extensively on this channel. And lifestyle creep is when you get an increase in your salary or your circumstances improve financially in a manner of different ways, and you find a way to spend it. You find a way to buy things in your life, maybe get a newer car on finance, upsize your house, start getting different eating out habits, more frequently buying coffees, whatever it may be, things you may not have done when you didn't have the money, so that you don't end off actually in a better net position than when you were before. You just have more material stuff. Unfortunately, that is the reality of how the human brain works. I have more, got to spend more. Financial responsibility and financial literacy, in my opinion, it isn't taught in schools unless people seek this sort of information out. They don't actually become financially responsible. There's a reason, because humans prop up all of the economy through spending money they don't have and being forced into debt to pay interest to large companies and banks. If nobody did this, I reckon the economy would probably be a lot worse off than what it actually is.
But is this a good thing for the small minority that do keep their spending in check? Or can we afford for everybody to be financially responsible?
As it turns out, we're spending almost $18,000 a year on non-essentials.
There's a new survey out revealing baby boomers are unprepared for retirement, having less than half of what they'll need in savings.
Man, a recent survey from Edward Jones shows more Americans than ever are this close to a financial disaster.
If everybody was financially responsible, there would be nobody left to spend money on disposable consumer junk, overpriced restaurant meals, lease pickups, and day trading courses, but all of these purchases give other people a job. If you are being financially responsible, are you denying an opportunity to somebody else to be financially responsible? And does that mean that you should be grateful to all of the people living paycheck to paycheck? The average American...
That's a really interesting thought, isn't it? I know this is an American video, but I don't think that these fundamentals change anywhere in the world. Humans will be humans no matter where you live. They said there was that point there that they raised about people not being able to cover a major expense or unexpected expense without going into debt. So $1,000 expense. There are many people out there who live life like they're always going to have the good times. They're always going to have a good job. The money's always going to keep coming in. I've found that's even more so from people with backgrounds, middle class and upper middle class backgrounds. And especially in the times we're living in, like things are getting tough now, but for the duration of everybody's working life, probably from Gen X onwards, things have been really good. It's been straight line goes up. We had one hiccup in 2008 or 2009, whenever the GFC was. But Australia came out really well out of that. Like it was mostly avoided. Yeah, there was a bit of a minor slowdown, but nothing big that resulted in a huge amount of job losses. We're in a time now where there are going to be a lot of people really kicking themselves that they didn't use their money better to set themselves up for the hard times that are here already and probably will be coming in the short term, because I think we've got a little bit further to go before we get back up around the cycle. So we've had a good 30 years or so of good conditions. Now it's going to be a few years of pain before that cycle resets again. But the thought of squandering a lot of earnings that we've made or we've taken for advantage in those good times without thinking for disasters, well, unfortunately, that's the reality for many people. And I'm not judging people. This is an observational channel, right? I'm just commenting on it. I've got some good friends of mine. I made a video recently about it and I talked about them. They're a couple. They've had really great careers to date. They're late 30s. They were high income earning dual income household. Things have gotten tough in particular industries, especially here in Victoria. Like things are really drying up. Both of them worked in the same industry, professional sector. Both made redundant. Not because they weren't good at their jobs, purely because those jobs could not be maintained by the business in the current economic climate. Now, these people lived life really well in terms of enjoying what life has to offer, always thinking that that high income was coming. And this is not a judgment, it's an observation. Now that all the money's dried up, things aren't looking great, especially in the short term, prospects for the labour market, especially in the fields that they want to work in. They didn't save much money and they have debts. They got 2 cars on finance. They recently bought a house, probably up towards the top end of their budget, I would say. And that was last year. And now the bills are keeping rolling in and that money's not coming. And my mate's wife, pregnant. And so, unfortunately, he's going through a really hard time. A lot of people are, but somewhat self-inflicted as well, right? But he's got a lot of mental health challenges and you do worry about people when they go right into the depths there. So I'm wishing them all the best, but I think tougher times are coming before they do get better, unfortunately. But that's what I'm talking about, lifestyle creep. So I'll say even for the last few years, they would have had a household income before tax probably of around 500K, but still don't have that much money to sustain them. I think the clock is really ticking. So you got to think to yourself, what could I have done better there? But that's not the mindset of most people. Doesn't matter how much money you earn or how educated you are.
And is not in a comfortable financial position at the moment, and it's the same story everywhere around the world. Money that people saved in the pandemic has evaporated, and credit card debt has taken its place. But how much of this is reckless? And how much of this is what people who do not make enough money do to keep up? People are being financially irresponsible, but they are also being financially f***ed, and those are not mutually exclusive. If you think of someone who is financially responsible, or you want to be financially responsible yourself, there are a few things you are going to need. An emergency fund and retirement savings are a must. Most financial advice also recommends that you have a car paid for in cash. Oh, and by the time you're 30, you should have a house that you put a 20% down payment on. The things that make people financially responsible.
I think that's really good advice. It's a bit obvious advice, but as I said, people just aren't taught these basics, right? And what I've noticed, especially in Australia, the culture here is if you save money, if you have money, you've made smart decisions and don't blow your discretionary money, people will literally look at you in a negative light. You're a tight ass, you're a miser, whatever cheap, whatever word it is to downplay that you've made decisions that have put you in a better position than other people. That's one thing I advise to people. Never tell anyone how much money you've got or any of your investments, because if you have friends and family and stuff and they get wind that you've got money and you've done the smart things, you'll either be resented or people look to you for a bailout. I've had people come to me asking me to lend them money. And I'm like, well, if you need money from me, how are you ever going to pay it back? And I have a very big rule. I've done it once and I never got the money back. I've never lent money to friends. The only way I would do it is if maybe a child was really sick and needed a life-threatening procedure or something like that to save the life. Then I'll probably give them the money without wanting it back. But when it comes to bailing people out, you got to think about yourself too and not be guilt tripped, because you won't get money back from friends and family a lot of the time, or they'll want to have really loose payment terms, or things will come good for them and they'll decide they don't want to pay you back, and that you're a tight ass and they'll get all angry for you asking for the money you lent them in goodwill. So that's probably a point there that I would say to people. Never tell anyone how well you're going. Just go under the radar. Go under the radar.
Responsible are really expensive, and a lot of people simply can't afford them. It's easy to think to yourself that everybody in financial distress is doing something dumb. But the reality is that no matter how thrifty a lot of Americans get, they will struggle to even save up an emergency fund, let alone everything else that qualifies someone as financially responsible. People saved a lot of money during the pandemic because of government stimulus, paused student loans, and because spending money was hard.
Exactly right. It wasn't that people did it because they thought, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm going to put some money away now. I've learnt my lesson that really bad things can happen. It was, no, I literally can't go outside. I know people that blew all their money anyway. They got the stimulus money. We got stimulus money here in Australia. And people were getting paid more than what they were working to sit at home. They're straight on Amazon buying all sorts of shit because they're bored and depressed at home. And you can understand why people do it. But they didn't think, hang on, I'm just going to leave that in the bank. That's another point I want to say. And I made a point around middle class and middle upper class people blowing money because they don't see hard times. The reason why I have certain spending habits, not because I'm so good and so smart and all of that. I come from a working class family who were very much with migrant parents, and they were very much scared of being poor. They knew what it was like. They came from Eastern Bloc country with a lot of conflict, and they knew what it was like to have nothing and no opportunities. And so when they came here, they just save, and bought their house and slowly paid that off and all that sort of stuff. And now they're doing well. There was never wasting money. There was never loans for cars. Like, my dad would smack me in the head if I did that. So those sort of seeing that value of money, it just sort of rubbed off on me, regardless of if I was able to make more money. Because for me, making more money is just more freedom, security, and a buffer for the bad times. As opposed to, I can have a nicer car, I can go get a Mercedes, I can upgrade my house and go and live in a better suburb that no one cares about, they don't care about your car. So that's why I'm the way that I am. And so when I say these things to people, it isn't like I'm smacking you over the head about it. I'm just saying you can always turn it around and change those habits too. It's never too late. You could be 50, you could be 60 or 70. A dollar saved is a dollar earned, as they say. A dollar saved is a dollar earned. Just think about this. Think about money as little units of the resource, the most valuable resource to you, time. Every time I go to buy something, I work it out. I know it sounds autistic, but I actually work out how many hours did I have to work doing something that I'd rather not to be able to buy this thing, and does it add value based on that time of my life that I'll never get back? I think if more people thought like that, to be a lot less reckless spending. But then the economy would probably struggle because it relies on people just to piss money up.
We're saving for the things that would make them financially secure. In a 2021 survey conducted on 1,037 Americans by Go Bank Rates, a financial market data firm, 44% said that they were saving for an emergency fund, 19% said that they were saving for retirement, and 13% said that they were saving for a home, which was roughly half of the respondents that didn't already own a home. In 2023, according to a follow-up report by Bloomberg and data from the Fed, all of the money that people were wishfully putting towards being financially responsible is gone.
What?
It's gone. It's all gone.
According to the report, only the top 20% of Americans still have any excess savings. With disheartening figures like this, people are more likely to give up on slow and steady financial responsibility and look for opportunities that could change their life overnight, like lotteries, get-rich-quick schemes, and risky investments. It has a low chance of success, but many Americans now think that they have no chance of success by doing it the slow and steady way, so they make these financial mistakes. People tried financial responsibility during the best years ever for saving money, and it evaporated just months later. Being poor is also really expensive. Poorer areas don't attract big stores, so people who live there either have to drive up for an hour round trip to get food or use convenience stores for groceries, which could charge a significant markup over big box retailers like Walmart, Trader Joe's, or Costco. Food deserts are just the first way that poor people stay poor. But what about the people who could do better? There are people who just don't have enough income left over after essentials to buy the increasingly expensive essentials to be financially responsible. But there are also a lot of people who do have the means to be financially responsible and just make dumb decisions.
That's just stupid, isn't it? A Louis Vuitton bag shaped like an aeroplane. So they made some really good points there. Getting into a poverty trap or a trap of where you're financially insecure, it's very difficult to get out of. It's like a perpetuating cycle. You can slowly grind your way out of it, though. It is possible for everybody. But he made some really good points about how investing for people, it takes a lot of long-term discipline and sacrifice and delayed gratification. Not just investing, but even just saving money and putting into high interest savings accounts, if there is such a thing. Nothing's really high interest. Nothing ever beats inflation. Or you want to put it in, if you want to do a bit of research, and put it into an index fund, and a specific index fund which might match your needs. That's boring because you don't see the number go up a lot. Right? It's not like crypto and penny stocks and stuff like that people hear all the success stories about. People putting in 10 grand punt and making $1 million. But for every person who's put 10 grand punt on leverage has absolutely lost their shirt, has probably wrecked their life. It's so a lot of people, they're drawn to the short-term silver bullet solution, which is high risk. Most people lose money when they invest on the share market. Most people, that is a literal statistic. The people who are not doing it properly, they just, when I say do it properly, reading company reports, keeping up with the companies they're investing in, like actually having a reason to invest, and they know about the value proposition. Is it good value, overvalued? What's the financial future prospects like? What's the prospectus? Nothing like that. It's just, my mate down the pub said that this stock over here in Kalgoorlie, they're doing a land survey and they found some gold there and it's going to go up 50 times, and they go and put money on it and they do their balls.
Otherwise, Dave Ramsey would have nobody to yell at on his show.
It's our choice,
Your
Jade.
choice is don't be stupid. That's your choice.
Well, there are actually 3 reasons why it's in your best interest for these people to get their shit together, and one big reason why you might not want them to. So it's time to learn how money works to find out if we can really afford for everybody to be financially responsible, and if we would even want that to happen. This week's lesson is sponsored by Trade Coffee. With all of my work on this channel, How History Works, and my newsletter, I've been very busy. I used to drink coffee just as a way to give. Warren Buffett is a legendary investor that people follow because of his long track record of finding undervalued companies to invest in. When Buffett buys a stock through Berkshire Hathaway, he needs to disclose his position to investors. When Buffett announces a new purchase, the market rallies behind him instantly, putting him in a profitable position on his purchase. That sounds like a perk of being one of the most legendary investors of all time. But Buffett has said in shareholder meetings that he hates when this happens because it makes a good stock more expensive to buy into if he wants to purchase more of a company in the future. Obviously, you are not Warren Buffett, but if everybody became financially responsible, you would share the same problem.
The thing about Warren Buffett is, and I don't know his full history and all that sort of stuff, but the surface level information that I know about him is he's a slow and steady investor. That's sort of how he made his money. And yes, he has his advisory business and insurance business and all that stuff that he's got going on now. But he just started off, I'm not sure if he came from money or not. He probably did. But he's grown whatever money he had over years and years and years to be the biggest, most wealthy, one of the wealthiest people in the world. He's not a genius. He just he plays a delayed gratification game. Apparently, he still drives around in a Volvo or something like that, and he's worth all these billions of dollars.
More people were buying the same shares that you wanted to buy to fund a long-term goal like retirement, then you will end up paying more for the same portfolio. The only time that you actually want a stock's price to be high is when you want to sell it. Currently, if everybody became savers and investors, the people that would stand to gain the most are wealthy people who already have large holdings of assets to sell to people entering the market for the first time. The same thing would happen for other financially responsible purchases like a house. If people gave up vacations, fancy dinners, and expensive cars to save diligently for a house, they would become even more expensive, making it harder for you to buy one, thus making it harder for you to be financially responsible. Additionally, investments like stocks and real estate only have value because they make something to sell to people. So if everybody decides that...
Well, I think the horse is bolted on that house point, and this isn't even an old video. But that's very true, right? Supply and demand, it doesn't matter what it is. People want it, the price goes through the roof, just like houses here. And this isn't a video about housing, so I'm not going to get onto that topic. I've made plenty of them. But he makes a good point here about slow and steady investing and not chasing the high. I think it's good advice.
That their 2-year-old iPhone is good enough and they don't need to upgrade, that would hurt the earnings of Apple as a company and you as a shareholder. So you might be thinking that maybe it's a good thing that so many people make so many dumb financial decisions. It's easier to get ahead if everybody else is tripping over themselves. But then there are 3 reasons why, despite the extra competition, you should still want people to be more financially responsible. The first reason is that people being better with their money would be better for everyone. People are afraid of a future where they will own nothing and be happy about it. The growth of subscription services, where people pay monthly for entertainment, applications, cars, food, housing, and everything in between, has grown in popularity in part because people no longer have the means or discipline to save up to make a one-time upfront purchase.
And plus the business model of a lot of these companies is you don't actually own the product. Like, think about any software business. You don't own that product anymore. You can use it for a certain amount of time that you've agreed to purchase the license for, but you don't own it. So I can speak about this specifically for my work on these channels. If you use Adobe to make thumbnails, I can only spend hundreds of dollars on it. You don't own it. You can use it for a year and you got to pay that hundreds of dollars again. Complete racket. But that's the thing about subscriptions and stuff like that, that really people see them as cheap. You know, Netflix is $17 and Prime's $9 and Disney's $15 or whatever they are. You get them all. I know people who have all of them. They don't even watch them. And they're paying all these fees. Gym memberships that you're not using. Now, I think gym's good. It's not a waste of money. But people buy gym memberships. Some range from anywhere up to $100, maybe more, depending where you're going a month. They're not even going, but they're paying for it. I've got a mate, he hasn't been in the gym in a year. He's still paying his gym membership because he thinks he still might maybe go back. $100 a month, $1,000, just threw it in the bin. The same thing happens with buy now, pay later. People, they go on a website, it's easy to get. They make it look cheaper because instead of it being $100, it's only 4 payments of $24.99. And they go and buy a bunch of shit that they don't need. And then those bills start coming in. And those bills have quite a bit of interest on them. Incredible that people still fall for it and can't see the traps. Probably the biggest trap, I'm not going to say it's a trap, but the biggest limiting factor in your life will be how big your mortgage is. Yes, you get an asset. It should appreciate in time. You have stability living in it. You can't be thrown out. But generally, you're paying a lot more on a mortgage than what you would to rent. So that cash flow impact over time erodes the ability to also save. And I know that paying down a house and force savings into a house, that's all savings, right? And I'm not saying renting's better. I think it's better in some circumstances if you're better off, if you know how to manage your money and invest it and deploy it into more effective places. But the majority of people can't.
Companies have capitalized on this to build a recurring revenue model where people pay a monthly fee for everything that works out to be a much worse deal on a time value adjusted basis. According to the Subscription Economy Index report, the market for subscription services has grown by 435% over the last decade. It is expected to grow even more by reaching a market size of $1.5 trillion by 2025. According to the market research and consulting firm Forrester, the #1 reason that subscription services have become so popular with consumers is exactly what you would expect. People don't have enough money to pay for things up front anymore. Now, subscription services are not bad by themselves. Sometimes it's a great way to try a product without committing to a single upfront purchase. And it has other advantages like forcing companies to push through updates on their services so they don't lose their recurring revenue. What is bad is when there is no other option that is not a subscription. There are
At Costco, I think Costco is good, but you have to go there quite frequently to even claw back that $60 membership because what they, what a lot of their business income is off those subscriptions. People go once or twice a year.
Now some things that are hard to buy without paying a monthly subscription. This very video was made using the Adobe Suite, which is no longer available for upfront purchase and can only be used on a subscription. Even if you want to buy something like a car, dealerships are going to make more money by putting you on a lease than they would by selling you a car in all cash, so they have structured their businesses to push those deals. Bullshit like this is only possible because there are enough people that buy these services that businesses have been able to transition to them, and in many cases, completely discontinue their upfront sales offerings.
That's what I mean. Like, people think, oh, I'll just worry about it later. So I said, okay, I'm going to get onto a tangent about car finance. Yes, this doesn't include you people out there who have money, can afford to have those cars, or you run them through a business or whatever it is. This is for people who literally don't have two bob to run together. They don't have $2. They have $1,000 in savings or something, and they go and get an $80,000 car, $100,000 car on finance without ever the hope of really paying it off quickly. But they want it. It looks shiny. They go to the showroom. They sit in there. The service attendant, sucks them in. Makes it sound like it's a really good deal. Well, it's only $940 a month over 84 months. You'll end up paying double for the car. To me, it's astronomical that so many people do this. And I know not everyone has money to buy a car outright. But you can buy a beater, you can buy a shit car. No one gives a stuff. No one cares what you drive. If you're more worried about what people think about what you're driving, you probably need to look at yourself a little bit. What's important to you? I've never had expensive cars. I've always had cars. I just ran them into the ground. I get another one.
Second reason you should want everybody to be as financially responsible as possible is for exactly the opposite reason. An even scarier future where you own everything and are miserable. Poor financial planning and overconsumption go hand in hand. According to data from the EPA, the average American uses more than their body weight in consumable products every day. Reckless spending has financed big cars, big houses, big meals, and big convenience that all comes at a financial cost, but is also an environmental cost. Even if you don't personally care about the environmental impact, this benefit is still important to you. If people buy less of everything and are more conscious of where they spend their money, then there will be more stuff left over for you. Less consumption will also reduce how much we collectively pay in environmental taxes, which will make it even easier to be financially responsible. And that's the third reason why we can afford for everybody to be financially responsible, and would be better off if they were. Some companies need people to spend their money recklessly to stay in business. Fast fashion, consumer lenders, automakers, debt collectors, hotels, airlines, and restaurants all
Just about every single business in existence relies on this. Apart from the bare essentials, utilities, groceries, every other business is a want, not a need. Like, it literally doesn't keep you alive. I understand money is for spending. That's why you have it. That's why people say, oh, I don't work to save, I work to live, or whatever it may be. I get that. But it isn't such a great decision when you end up living on the street, you lose a job, you have a health complication, whatever it is. So anyone who's watching who actually cares about finance or improving their finances, just go through all your ongoing bills. Every single bill you have, and see what you can do just to get rid of them. Like, do you actually use it? You probably save yourself hundreds of dollars a month. There you go. There's a tip for you. Thank me later. Credit cards. Yes, there is a benefit. If you're good at using a credit card, absolutely there's a benefit to managing your cash flow by putting your monthly expenses on the credit card and paying it off at a particular time once a month before the threshold ticks over that you pay interest on it. Most people don't do that. Cannot control themselves because there's no feeling of loss when it comes to making a purchase. You just tap the card and take the bag from the checkout and off you go. Happy days. I'd love to see the difference in spending habits if people had that money in their wallet. I'm sure there's people out there who blow money regardless. But if you had that money in your wallet, you're paid the old way. You got an envelope full of $50 bills or $20 bills or whatever it may be. Would you go and drop $1,000 on a, PlayStation 5 Pro if you had that money in cash in your hand? Like, would it be that easy to do? I don't think it is. Like, you'd really sit there, you'd really consider the purchase. So anyway, I'm going to finish off the video by saying, while this behavior will never change, it'll probably get worse with the way that the business models for all these large companies are going. There's always going to be people who do this, who prop the economy up, because at the end of the day, money needs to be going through the economy for people to have jobs and all of that. So I guess they are playing their part, but it doesn't have to be you. But this will always be a thing. But maybe consider you not being part of that. And consider, if you're actually wanting to learn about money, this is not a finance channel, I just like to comment on it sometimes. The internet has a wealth of information for free. You don't have to buy books or anything. So just consider doing that. Thanks all for watching. See you in the next video.